Hi. Today I would like to present to you the topic which is called BCG Matrix. Basically, what we did last year is I've just seen that many students has problems with understanding not really what the BCG matrix is, but why it is used by the companies or in basic stages of the studies. So before I'll present to you what is that, I would like to tell you why it was used and what for we can use it today. BCG matrix, coming from the name from the Boston Consulting Group, was created for big companies that has more than one product or more than one group of products. And that should help them to make the decision how to allocate the resources between them. Giving you the example, if we had a company like General Electric, which works on several different topics, starting from nuclear power plants through the dishwashers, finishing on selling mortgages. The question is in which areas they should invest their money mostly. In this, the BCG matrix might help you. If you take a look on what you have in here, you can see that there's a vertical line and a horizontal line. On the vertical line, you can find the market growth. So this is illustrating how fast the market, about which we're talking right now, is growing. If you take a look on the horizontal line, it presents you what's the market share of the product that we're talking about. In here, you can find 4 categories. Looking from the top left, you have question marks, stars, dogs, and cash cows. Each of these categories is representing the type of product. Starting from the top left, so you have the products with high market growth and a low market share. In there, we have the products which are called question marks. This is describing the type of the products in which we know that there's a huge potential of the market in there, but our current market shares are pretty limited. If you take a look on the example of the tablet market around 5-6 years ago when the market was introduced, there were several different players that appeared on the market. There was Sony, there was a Samsung with their tablets, there was a Research in Motion, which is called BlackBerry right now. There was HP, all these companies. They were trying to appear on that market with their product. In that time, their market share was small because most of the market was already taken by Apple and iPod. What these companies, what they could do, there were 2 possibilities. They might invest lots of money in that product, hoping that their market share will be bigger, or they might just decide that their market shares are small, the market is growing very fast, so they should disappear from that market or sell that product. And that's exactly what was done by most of the companies. Only a few of them stayed on that market. If you take a look on another company, which is called Stars. Stars, these are the products with high market share and high market growth. The category which seems like the type of product that every company would like to have. And in there, basing on the same example, you can think about tablet market and iPod, which appeared on the market. And in there, Apple, in the first years, they have the majority of the market, which was growing super fast every year, around a few 100% year to year. Sounds like a perfect position for the product. Well, it is. But it doesn't mean automatically that the product is earning or giving high profits, because you have to invest lots of money in that product. Because the market is growing very fast, new countries on which you are appearing, you have to invest in logistics, appearing on that market, marketing, and you have to also invest money to keep your high market shares in there. So that's a great future for the product. Every company would like to have that product, but still it requires lots of investments in that type of product. Then, if you take a look on the right down position, you have cash cows. Cash cows, these are the products which have high market shares, but this type of market in which they are currently does not have high market growth, practically saying the future of that product is limited. If you would like to present it based on the examples, it might mean that we have a product which is well established on the market, gives you high profits, but we know that the time perspective for that product is limited. Basing on the examples, if you take a look on the current tobacco companies, for example, Philip Morris with their brands of cigarettes, they have high market shares, they earn lots of money on that, but they know that the future of that product is pretty limited. So these products, they will give you lots of cash in short-term perspective. But then the question is what you will do with that money and where you will invest that money. And there is a final category, which is called dogs. That sounds bad. I mean, not the dogs. But in here, you have low market shares and the future of that market is very limited. Giving you the example, if you take a look on the example of the current coal mines, for example, in Poland, their cost of coal digging in the ground is getting higher and higher every year. The future of the coal as the fuel for which it might be used seems to be very limited. And in here, there is a question what we are going to do with that product. From the theoretical perspective, in here, you should decide to leave that market, sell it, close it. That's a theory. Always we have this practical perspective, which presents why sometimes companies, they still have it. For example, from political reasons, and that's why we still have most of the coal mines these days located in Poland or in some other countries because of, for example, energy security from the government perspective. So in here, you have these 4 categories of the product. But we don't want only to do it in the way that someone created 4 categories of the products, and that's all. In here, there is a question how this BCG matrix can help you with the decision-making process. And to illustrate that, there were strategies created how identifying which types of products you already have in your company, which types of strategies you might use. The first one and the most obvious one is that one that you have currently the product, which is the cash cow. So you do it in the way that you take the money from the cash cow. You invest that in the product, which currently is the question mark, hoping that next this product will become a star. And from that perspective, in long-term perspective, you might feel secure that you will still have the products up to date on the market generating the profit. That's the one, theoretically, of course, sounds the best, but it requires having the product which is already a cash cow and the product which has the possibility to become a star. If we don't have that perspective, sometimes we might use different strategies. Second strategy is called just holding the market share. So you have the product which has the possibility to grow, but you decide just to hold the market share. So you just do the required maintenance processes, limited process of investment just to keep your market share, not generate it higher. Why? Well, you do it mostly when you need money. When the money is required in a short-term perspective because of financial crisis, for example, then you can do the process of holding the market shares. There is also a different perspective or different strategy, which is called harvesting a product. That might sound different, or that might sound even strange, because in that strategy, you decide to lower, in maximum way to lower the cost that you generate. I will give you the example. If you manage the company like railways, the biggest cost in there is just doing the up-to-date checking of every type of train, which is done every single time perspective. For example, every half a year it has to be done, verifying, checking how it works. This process is very costly. But if you manage that type of company and in very short-term perspective you would like to present, we generate profits. You can start generating high profits by stopping all the process of checking, verifying the trains. And in short-term perspective, you will start generating high profits. Of course, after 6 months or 1 year, you will realize that half of your trains cannot run anymore. But because of many reasons, like you would like to appear on the stock exchange market, and in short-term perspective, you need to present very good results. Or another perspective, you need to generate high amount of money and invest it somewhere else. You can use that strategy. Of course, in medium and long-term perspective. This strategy sounds like something which is useless, but as always in business, sometimes just this short term seems to be important. So, summing up, BCG Matrix, something that should help you to manage the company which has many different types of products. And in there, to make the decision how to allocate the resources between these different products. Why it's so important? Because many times the employees, which are, for example, hired in one department, I will give you the example of the company which was IBM. They decided to do it more than 20 years ago right now. They were mostly known from producing personal computers, laptops, personal computers. And that time they decided we are selling that department. Everyone was just asking why. It generates majority of your profits and majority of your income. They decided to sell it and invest in mostly software. Why they did it? From current perspective, it was a great decision because the market of producing the computers by itself these days is pretty limited. We have Dell, we have HP, but the value of these companies is much lower than IBM because they have many competitors, mostly from Asia, preparing computers which are, let's say, cheap, or the profit that you can generate on that is limited. So they took the money from that market because they sold it to Lenovo, and they invested that money in completely different parts. We can call them question marks. And right now, IBM is still the leading company in, for example, software, which is supporting decision-making processes. And that's how the companies would like to make that decision. So what you can learn from that lecture is that decision-making process support, you have 4 categories of the products, and most important in here is just to remember that there are several different strategies that you can use to allocate the resources between that product. Thank you.